The year was 2387, and humanity had never been alone in the universe. For over 200 years, the Luminari had watched over them like distant parents caring for their children. These beings of pure light lived in the space between stars, building massive structures around suns to keep them burning steady and safe. They called these structures celestial anchors, and they made life possible on 17 human worlds scattered across the galaxy. Commander Taemin Park stood on the observation deck of Research Station Alpha, watching the blue-white glow of Kepler 442 through the thick protective glass. The star looked peaceful now, but he knew it was only stable because of the enormous ring of crystalline metal that surrounded it. The celestial anchor was beautiful in its own alien way, catching and redirecting the star's violent energy into gentle, life-giving warmth for the planet New Busan far below. "The readings are perfect again today," said his sister, Dr. Hyejin Park, as she joined him at the window. She carried a data pad filled with measurements from their monitoring equipment. "Stellar output is exactly where it should be. Temperature variations less than 1%. The Luminari really know what they are doing." Taemin nodded, but something bothered him. In all his years studying the celestial anchors, he had never actually seen one of the Luminari. They communicated through changes in the anchor's energy patterns, sending messages that human computers could barely translate. Most of the time, they simply ignored human attempts at contact entirely. "Do you ever wonder why they help us?" he asked his sister. Hyejin shrugged. "The same reason humans help stray animals, I suppose. We are probably just pets to them." Down in the engineering section, Bo-Ram Lee was having trouble with the station's power systems again. The human-built equipment that connected to the celestial anchor kept overloading. It was like trying to drink from a fire hose. The luminal technology produced more energy than human machines were designed to handle. "The coupling is burning out again," she muttered, replacing another fried circuit board. "This is the third one this week." Bo-Ram had been working with luminal technology for 15 years, ever since graduating from the engineering academy. On Earth, she understood how to maintain the human side of the systems, but the alien components remained a complete mystery. They worked perfectly, but no human had ever figured out how or why. 3 days later, everything changed. Captain Jin-Ho Kim was drinking his morning coffee on the bridge of the deep space vessel Taeguk when his communications officer, Soo-Jin Nam, suddenly straightened in her chair. Her face went pale as she stared at her instruments. "Captain," she said in a shaky voice, "I am receiving emergency signals from all 17 colonies. All of them, sir. At the same time." Jin-Ho set down his coffee cup and moved to look at her screen. Red warning lights blinked from every human world on the star map. "What kind of emergency?" "Stellar instability warnings. The celestial anchors they are going dark." On Research Station Alpha, Taemin Park felt the first tremor run through the deck plating. Emergency alarms began wailing throughout the station as their instruments detected massive energy fluctuations from Kepler 442. Through the observation window, he could see the celestial anchor flickering like a dying light bulb. "What is happening?" Hyejin asked, running her hands over her data pad. "The stellar readings are going crazy. Temperature is spiking, then dropping, then spiking again." In the engineering section, Bo-Ram Lee watched in horror as every human system connected to the celestial anchor began shutting down. Sparks flew from control panels as circuits overloaded and failed. The smell of burning electronics filled the air. "The anchor is losing power," she shouted into her communicator. "All the energy feeds are cutting out. We are going to lose life support if this continues." On the planet New Busan below, the effects were even more dramatic. The carefully controlled weather patterns that had made the world habitable for 2 centuries began to collapse. In the capital city of Harmony, people looked up at the sky in confusion as strange aurora lights danced across the daylight hours. The star itself was becoming unstable. Governor Wu Jin-han received reports from every city on the planet. Crop failures were already beginning as the artificial climate systems went offline. Without the celestial anchor maintaining perfect conditions, New Busan would become uninhabitable within months. "Try to contact the Luminari," he ordered his staff. "Send every signal we can. They have to know what is happening." but there was no response from the beings of light. For the first time in human memory, the Luminari were completely silent. On Earth, Admiral Dongjun Cho stood in the command center of stellar defense, watching reports flood in from across human space. Every colony was reporting the same thing. The celestial anchors were failing, and the Luminari had vanished without a word. "How many people live in the colonies?" he asked his aide. "Nearly 3 billion, sir, spread across 17 worlds." Dongjun felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. If the celestial anchors failed completely, those 3 billion people would die. Earth could not possibly evacuate them all, even if they had enough ships, which they did not. Dr. Young-hee Song, Earth's leading expert on luminal technology, entered the command center carrying a stack of research papers. Her usually neat hair was disheveled, and her eyes were red from lack of sleep. "Admiral," she said, "I have been analyzing the energy patterns from all 17 anchor sites. The shutdown is not random. It is happening in a specific sequence starting from the galactic edge and moving inward toward Earth." "What does that mean?" "It means something is coming, something that made the Luminari shut down their anchors and disappear." Captain Jin Ho. Kim's ship was already moving toward the nearest colony when Sujin Nam detected something even more disturbing. "Captain, the navigation beacons are going offline too. The Luminari maintained a network of energy highways between star systems to help ships travel faster. That network is shutting down." Jinho stared at the star chart. Without the luminal navigation network, travel between star systems would take months instead of weeks. Humanity was being cut off, isolated on their scattered worlds just when they needed to work together most. "Set course for New Sol," he ordered. "Best possible speed." On Research Station Alpha, Commander Taemin Park made a decision that would change everything. As the celestial anchor continued to flicker and fail, he suited up in an environmental suit and prepared to do something no human had ever attempted before. "Where are you going?" Hee-jin asked. "Someone has to go out there and see what is happening to the anchor," he replied. "If we can understand how it works, maybe we can fix it ourselves." "That is insane. No human has ever gotten close to a celestial anchor while it was active. It is not very active right now," Taemin pointed out. "This might be our only chance." As his shuttle approached the massive alien structure, Taemin could see that it was not just losing power. It was being drained. Something invisible was pulling energy out of the anchor, leaving it weak and dying. The Luminari had not abandoned humanity by choice, he realized. Something had driven them away. Something that was still out there, still hungry, still coming, for the rest of human space. He activated his recorder and began documenting everything he could see. Humanity would need every piece of information if they were going to survive what was coming next. Commander Taemin Park floated in his shuttle just 50 meters from the dying celestial anchor. The massive structure was larger than most cities, made of materials that seemed to bend light around them. But now, instead of the steady blue glow it had maintained for centuries, the anchor flickered like a candle in the wind. "I can see damage patterns," he reported back to the station through his radio. "Something has been feeding on the anchor's energy systems. There are dark spots spreading across its surface like some kind of infection." His sister Hee-jin listened from the station's command center, recording everything. "Can you get closer? We need detailed scans." "Already trying," Taemin replied, guiding his shuttle toward one of the anchor's maintenance ports. The Luminari had built these access points for their own use, but human engineers had learned to connect their equipment to them over the years. As his shuttle docked with the alien structure, Taemin felt a strange sensation, like electricity, running through his bones. The anchor was still alive, but barely. He activated his portable scanner and began recording energy readings that no human had ever seen before. "Hee-jin," he said, his voice tight with worry. "The anchor is not just losing power. It is being drained by something that leaves traces of pure darkness behind. This is not natural stellar decay. Something is actively feeding on it." Meanwhile, on the industrial world of New Sol, factory supervisor Kyung-ho Jang was dealing with a crisis of his own. The planet's red dwarf star had begun fluctuating wildly, causing power surges that destroyed manufacturing equipment and threatened the lives of millions of workers. "Evacuate sectors 7 through 12, he ordered his team leaders. "If the star keeps pulsing like this, the radiation shielding will not hold." His daughter Mi-young Jang worked frantically in the engineering bay, trying to understand why their celestial anchor was failing faster than the others. New Sol's anchor was older than most, installed when humanity first began expanding beyond Earth's solar system. "Father," she called out over the noise of sparking machinery. "I think I know why our anchor's dying first. The older models have less shielding against whatever is attacking them." Kyung-ho joined her at the diagnostic station. "Can we repair it?" Mi-young shook her head. "We do not even understand how it works normally. Trying to fix luminal technology would be like a caveman attempting to repair a spaceship." 3 days later, Captain Jin-ho Kim's ship reached the outer edge of human space, where the colony ship Eternal Hope had been traveling to establish the 18th human world. What they found there changed everything. "Captain," Sujin Nam called from her station, "I am detecting debris ahead. Lots of it." Jin-ho moved to the main viewer and felt his blood turn cold. The debris was not from a ship. It was the remains of a celestial anchor, broken into millions of pieces that drifted in the darkness between stars. But more disturbing were the other shapes floating among the wreckage. "Those are luminari," he whispered. "The beings of pure energy that had protected humanity for centuries lay scattered like dying stars, their light fading to nothing. Some were completely dark, others flickered weakly like candles about to go out. "Launch a probe," Jin-ho ordered. "We need to know what happened here." The probe's data was terrifying. The Luminari had not abandoned humanity by choice. They had been attacked by something that consumed their energy, leaving them to die in the cold vacuum of space. Whatever had done this was powerful enough to destroy beings that humans had considered nearly godlike. Dr. Sang-wook Lim, the ship's science officer, studied the probe data with growing alarm. "Captain, I am reading traces of exotic matter in the debris field. This is not natural decay or even normal weapons damage. Something drained the life force directly out of the Luminari. Can you identify what did it?" "Not yet, but I am detecting a pattern in the energy signatures. Whatever attacked them is moving in a specific direction, toward the inner colonies." Back on Research Station Alpha, Dr. Hai-Jin Park made a discovery that sent chills down her spine. While analyzing her brother's scans from inside the celestial anchor, she found something hidden in the energy patterns. "Taemin," she called him over the intercom, "you need to see this." Her brother had returned from his dangerous mission exhausted and shaken, but alive. He joined her in the laboratory where she had been working non-stop for 18 hours. "What is it?" he asked. "I found a message hidden in the anchor's data stream. It is from the Luminari, but it is weak, like they were trying to send it while dying." Hai-Jin activated the translation program and slowly words appeared on the screen. The message was broken and incomplete, but terrifying in its implications. "Ancient hunger returns. Consume all light. We cannot stop. Warn the children. Find another way." "The children," Taemin said quietly. "They mean us. We are the children they are warning." On Earth, Admiral Dong Jun-cho received reports from Captain Jin-ho Kim's ship with growing dread. The outer colonies were already beginning to fail as their stars became unstable. Refugee ships were fleeing inward toward Earth, carrying stories of suns that flickered and died, of worlds that froze as their life-giving warmth disappeared. Dr. Young Hee-song had been working around the clock to understand the threat, using every piece of data they could gather. Her conclusion was almost too terrible to believe. "Admiral," she said, entering his office with red-rimmed eyes and shaking hands, "I think I know what we are facing. The ancient records speak of something called the void hunger. It appears every few million years, draining energy from stars and civilizations. How do we fight it? According to the records, you do not fight it. You hide from it or you die. Every civilization that has faced the void hunger has either fled to other galaxies or been completely destroyed." Dongjun sat heavily in his chair. How long do we have? Based on the rate it is consuming our outer colonies, perhaps 6 months before it reaches Earth. Maybe less. On New Seoul, the situation was becoming desperate. Kyung-ho Jang organized evacuation efforts as their red dwarf star continued to fluctuate. But there were over 200 million people on the planet, and nowhere near enough ships to evacuate them all. Mi Young worked with a team of human engineers to study the pieces of luminal technology they had salvaged over the years. If they could not fix the celestial anchor, perhaps they could build something to replace it. It is impossible, her assistant Jong-soo said, looking at the complex energy patterns on their screens. We barely understand our own fusion reactors. This technology is thousands of years ahead of us. Then we better learn fast, Mi Young replied grimly, because if we cannot figure this out, we are all going to die. Back on Captain Jin-ho Kim's ship, they made another disturbing discovery. The probe had detected movement in the debris field, something vast and dark approaching from the galactic edge. It is bigger than a planet, Sujin Nam reported, her voice barely a whisper. The gravitational distortion it is creating is affecting space itself. Dr. Sang-wook Lim confirmed their worst fears. That is the void hunger, and it is heading directly for human space. Jin-ho activated the emergency beacon that would warn all human worlds. This is Captain Kim of the deep space vessel Taeguk. Priority alert to all colonies and Earth Command. The threat that destroyed the Luminary is confirmed and approaching. Estimated time to reach outer colonies is 48 hours. As the message spread across human space, panic began to set in. On 17 worlds, billions of people looked up at their flickering stars and realized they might be witnessing the end of everything they had ever known. But in the darkness of space, something else was stirring. Humanity had always been different from other species. They had never accepted impossible odds gracefully. They had never surrendered when faced with extinction. And they were about to prove that sometimes the children abandoned by their guardians could learn to fight monsters that even gods could not defeat. Dr. Young Hee-song had not slept in 3 days. In her laboratory on Earth, she surrounded herself with every piece of data humanity had ever collected about luminal technology. The answer had to be there somewhere, hidden in the measurements and energy readings that human scientists had been recording for 2 centuries. The Luminari were beings of pure energy, she muttered to herself, staring at wave patterns on her computer screen. They could interface directly with stellar plasma because they were made of the same basic forces. But humans are biological. We are matter, not energy. Her assistant, Dr. Min-ho Park, brought her another cup of coffee. Maybe that is why we cannot use their technology, he suggested. We are just too different. Young Hee shook her head. No. There has to be a way. Human brains generate electrical patterns. Neural activity creates quantum fields. If we could amplify those patterns somehow. She pulled up brain scan data from volunteers who had worked closely with luminal technology over the years. Commander Taemin Park's readings were especially interesting. After his close encounter with the dying celestial anchor, his neural pattern showed unusual quantum resonance signatures. Minho, look at this, she said excitedly. Taemin's brain activity changed after he interfaced with the anchor. His consciousness somehow synchronized with the alien technology. Is that good or bad? It might be the key to everything. On Research Station Alpha, Commander Taemin Park was experiencing strange dreams. Every night he saw visions of stellar fire and cosmic winds. He could feel the pain of dying stars, hear their silent screams as the void hunger drained their life away. The dreams are getting stronger, he told his sister Heejin during their morning meeting. Sometimes I feel like I am actually inside a star swimming in nuclear fire. Heejin ran more medical scans on her brother, comparing them to his baseline readings from before the anchor incident. Your brain patterns are still changing, she reported. Some of the quantum frequencies match the energy signatures from luminal technology. What does that mean? I think it means you are becoming something new. Part human, part something else. Dr. Young Hee-song arrived at Research Station Alpha 3 days later, carrying experimental equipment that had never been tested on living subjects. Her proposal was simple and terrifying. They would try to connect a human mind directly to a celestial anchor. The theory is sound, she explained to Taemin and his sister. Human consciousness generates quantum fields that might be compatible with stellar plasma. If we can amplify your neural patterns and focus them through the anchor's systems, you might be able to stabilize the star. And if the theory is wrong? Taemin asked. Then you will probably die instantly. Taemin looked out at the flickering star that was slowly killing his world. How many people live on New Busan? 47 million, Hyejin replied quietly. Then we try it. The experimental interface suit looked like a cross between a spacesuit and medical equipment. Engineer Bo-Ram Lee had worked with Dr. Young Hee-song to combine human technology with salvaged luminal components. The result was crude but functional. The suit will protect you from stellar radiation while allowing your neural patterns to interface with the anchor's quantum systems, Young Hee explained, as they prepared for the test. But I have no idea what it will feel like. Or what it might do to your mind, Hyejin added worriedly. Taemin put on the suit and entered the small shuttle that would carry him to the celestial anchor. As the shuttle docked with the alien structure, he felt the same electric sensation as before, but stronger now. The suit's systems activated and suddenly his consciousness exploded outward. He was inside the star. Nuclear fire surrounded him, but instead of burning him, it welcomed him like an old friend. He could feel the star's confusion and pain as the void hunger slowly drained its energy. But more importantly, he could feel how to help it. I can see the damage, he reported through the communication link, though his voice sounded strange and distant. The void hunger creates weak points in the star's magnetic field. If I can strengthen those areas. Back on the station, Young Hee and Hyejin watched in amazement as their instruments showed the star's energy output stabilizing for the first time in weeks. The fluctuations that had been tearing the system apart were smoothing out into a steady, healthy rhythm. It is working, Hyejin whispered. He is actually healing the star. But the effort was taking a terrible toll on Taemin. His life signs were erratic, and when he finally disconnected from the system, he collapsed unconscious in his shuttle. It took 2 days for him to wake up, and when he did, he was changed. I can still feel it, he told his sister weakly. The star, it is like having a second heartbeat in my chest. On New Seoul, Mi Young-jang had been following the reports from Research Station Alpha with growing excitement. If one human could stabilize one star, perhaps multiple humans working together could do even more. Father, she told Kyung-ho, I want to try building a network of human operators. If we can train volunteers to interface with our celestial anchor, maybe we can save our world too. The first volunteer was a young engineer named Hyunwoo Kim. He had worked with luminal technology for years and volunteered immediately when Mi Young explained what they needed. I have a wife and 2 children on this planet, he said simply. If there is a chance to save them, I will take any risk. The interface process was brutal. Unlike Taemin, who had been naturally changed by his exposure to the dying anchor, Hyunwoo had to force his human mind to connect with alien technology. The pain was indescribable, but he held on. I can feel our star, he gasped through gritted teeth. It is so angry, so hurt. The darkness is eating it from the inside. Working together, Mi Young and her team guided Hyunwoo through the process of strengthening their red dwarf's magnetic field. Slowly, agonizingly, the star began to stabilize. But Hyunwoo paid a price. When he disconnected from the system, his hair had turned completely white, and his eyes glowed with a faint inner light. The star is part of me now, he said quietly. I can feel every solar flare, every magnetic storm. I do not think I can ever be fully human again. News of the successful star stabilizations spread quickly through human space. On Earth, Admiral Dong Jun-cho authorized the formation of humanity's first Stellar Guardian Corps. Volunteers came forward from every world, knowing they were volunteering to sacrifice their humanity to save their species. Dr. Young Hee-song worked frantically to improve the interface technology. Each new Guardian suit was better than the last, offering more protection and more efficient neural connection. But the fundamental truth remained unchanged. Becoming a Guardian meant giving up part of what made someone human. Captain Jinho Kim returned to human space with more disturbing news. The void hunger was accelerating its approach, consuming outer systems faster than expected. They had weeks, not months, before it reached the core worlds. "We need more Guardians," he reported to Admiral Cho. "A lot more. The entity is bigger than we thought, and it learns from each system it consumes." On 17 worlds, humans began the desperate process of learning to tend their stars. Some died in the attempt, their minds shattered by forces beyond biological comprehension. Others succeeded but were changed forever, becoming something between human and stellar phenomenon. Commander Tae-min Park, now permanently connected to his star through quantum entanglement, became the template for training future Guardians. His sister Hee-jin documented every aspect of the transformation, creating a medical protocol that saved countless lives. "We are becoming something new," she wrote in her research notes. "Not human, not luminary, but something uniquely our own. The question is whether we can change fast enough to save our species." The void hunger continued its inexorable approach, and humanity raced against time to forge themselves into weapons of light, capable of standing against cosmic darkness. The real battle was about to begin. The training center on Mars had been built in just 2 weeks, a testament to human determination when facing extinction. Admiral Dongjun Cho watched through reinforced windows as the first class of Guardian candidates underwent their final preparation. Most of them would not survive the process. Those who did would never be the same. "How many applicants do we have?" he asked his aide. "Over 50,000 from across human space, sir. But Dr. Young Hee-song estimates we can only train about 200 successfully. The human mind was not designed for this kind of stress." In the training chamber below, Commander Tae-min Park worked with a volunteer named Sung-min Lee, a former stellar engineer from the colony of New Kyoto. The training interface was a smaller version of the full celestial anchor connection, designed to gradually prepare human minds for contact with stellar forces. "Remember," Tae-min said, his voice carrying the strange harmony that all Guardians developed, "you are not controlling the star. You are joining with it. Feel its rhythm. Match its heartbeat to your own." Sung-min gritted his teeth as artificial stellar energy flowed through his nervous system. It felt like being struck by lightning while swimming in lava. "I can feel something," he gasped. "It is huge, so much bigger than me." "That is normal. The star contains more energy than 1 billion human civilizations. Let it teach you instead of trying to master it." Dr. Hyejin Park monitored Sung-min's vital signs from the control room. His brain patterns were shifting, reorganizing themselves to handle quantum frequencies that no human had evolved to perceive. She had seen this transformation dozens of times now, but it never stopped being disturbing. "Neural pathways are stabilizing," she reported. "He is going to make it." When Sung-min disconnected from the training interface, his hands shook uncontrollably for several minutes. Like all successful Guardian candidates, his eyes now held flecks of golden light, reflections of the stellar fire he had touched. "I felt something else in there," he told Tae-min quietly. "Something dark and hungry, waiting at the edge of the system." "The void hunger?" Tae-min nodded grimly. "It is getting closer. Every Guardian can sense it now. We are running out of time." On New Sol, Mi Young-jang had become the chief engineer of humanity's first Guardian station. The massive orbital platform amplified human neural patterns and distributed the load of stellar interface across multiple operators. It was crude compared to luminal technology, but it worked. Her father Kyung-ho supervised the construction crews working around the clock to complete the station. "The outer hull is finished," he reported, "but we still need 3 more days to install the neural amplifiers." "We may not have 3 days," Mi-young replied, pointing to their star. The red dwarf was flickering more violently than ever, fighting against the approaching darkness. Guardian Hyunwoo says he can feel the void hunger's influence growing stronger. Hyunwoo Kim had been maintaining connection with their star for 2 weeks now. The strain was visible in every line of his face, and his hair had gone completely white. But he held on, keeping their son stable through sheer force of will. "The thing is learning," he told me young during one of his brief breaks from the interface. "It adapts to every technique I use. Each time I strengthen the star's magnetic field, it finds a new way to drain energy." "Can you hold out until the station is complete?" "I will have to. 40 million people depend on it." Captain Jin-Ho Kim had been reassigned to coordinate Guardian deployment across human space. His ship, the Taeguk, now carried emergency interface equipment and could train new Guardians in the field. But the news from the outer colonies was getting worse every day. "We have lost contact with New Daegu," his communications officer Soo-Jin Nam reported. "Their Guardian Corps went silent 12 hours ago." Jin-Ho stared at the tactical display. Red markers showed systems that had already fallen to the void hunger. Yellow markers indicated colonies where Guardian Corps were fighting desperately to maintain stellar stability. Only a few green markers remained, showing worlds that were still safe. "How many Guardians were stationed at New Daegu?" 23, sir. Led by Guardian Prime Jae-Ho Park." Dr. Sang-Wook Lim looked up from his sensor readings. "Captain, I am detecting massive gravitational distortions moving through the New Daegu system. The void hunger is not just draining their star, it is consuming the entire system." The realization hit Jin-Ho like a physical blow. The entity was not satisfied with stellar energy alone. It was devouring everything: planets, space stations, even the Guardian Corps members who tried to resist it. "Send an emergency message to all remaining colonies," he ordered. "The void hunger is more dangerous than we thought. It does not just drain stars. It consumes everything in its path." Back on Earth, Dr. Young Hee Song received Jin-Ho's message with growing alarm. Her latest calculations showed that even with all their Guardian Corps working together, humanity could only slow the entity's advance, not stop it. "We need something more," she told Admiral Cho during their emergency meeting. "Individual Guardians can stabilize stars, but they cannot fight. Something on this scale. What do you suggest?" "A network. If we could link all the Guardian Corps together, create a unified consciousness that spans multiple star systems, we might have enough combined power to resist the void hunger." Admiral Cho frowned. "Is that even possible?" "I do not know. We would be attempting something that has never been tried before, and if it fails, we could lose every Guardian simultaneously." On Research Station Alpha, Commander Taemin Park was experiencing visions of increasing intensity. In his dreams, he could see the network that Dr. Young Hee Song proposed. Hundreds of Guardian minds linked together, their consciousness spanning the void between stars. "It is possible," he told his sister during one of his medical checkups. "I can feel the other Guardians when I interface with our star. We are all connected through the quantum field that surrounds stellar plasma." Hye-jin ran another brain scan on her brother. His neural patterns were becoming more alien with each passing day. "Taemin, you are changing faster than the others. Your connection to the star is deeper than anyone else's." "That is because I was the first," he replied. "I have had more time to adapt. But I can feel what we need to do. The network is not just possible, it is inevitable. We are all moving toward the same quantum state." The first test of inter-system Guardian communication came when Sungmin Lee, now stationed at New Kyoto, attempted to contact Taemin while both were connected to their respective stars. The result was startling. "I can feel him," Taemin reported to the research team. "Not just his thoughts, but his star as well. New Kyoto's sun is healthy and strong. If I can sense one Guardian across interstellar distances, I should be able to reach them all." Dr. Young Hee Song immediately began designing equipment to facilitate the Guardian network. But as she worked, reports continued to arrive from the outer colonies. The void hunger was accelerating its consumption, learning from each system it devoured. Engineer Bo-Ram Lee had been reassigned to Guardian Station construction, helping to build the orbital platforms that would support network operations. "The stations are coming online faster than expected," she reported to Admiral Cho. "But will it be fast enough?" On New Seoul, Mi Young-jang watched her Guardian station finally come online. Guardian Hyunwoo Kim was the first to use the new amplification systems, and the results were immediately obvious. Their red dwarf star burned brighter and steadier than it had in months. "The station increases my connection by a factor of 10, Hyunwoo reported. "I can reach deeper into the star's core, strengthen it from within, but I can also sense something else. There are other guardians out there calling for help." "Can you reach them?" "Not yet, but if we build more stations, create stronger amplifiers, we might be able to link the entire Guardian Core together." Kyung-ho Jang watched his daughter work with pride and terror. Mi-young had not slept in days, pushing herself to complete the station upgrades before the void hunger reached their system. "You need to rest," he told her. "I will rest when everyone is safe," she replied, then looked up at their star. "Or when we are all dead." The void hunger continued its relentless approach, consuming system after system, but for the first time since the crisis began, humanity had hope. The Guardian Core was growing stronger, learning to work together across impossible distances. Commander Taemin Park, now permanently connected to his star through quantum entanglement, began reaching out to Guardian stations across human space. "I can feel them all," he told his sister. "Every Guardian, every star we are protecting. We are becoming something the universe has never seen before." "What are we becoming?" Hyejin asked. "The bridge between flesh and fire, between mortal will and cosmic force. We are becoming humanity's answer to impossible odds." The network was almost ready, and the final battle was about to begin. The void hunger arrived at the edge of human space like a tide of absolute darkness. Captain Jin-ho Kim watched from the bridge of his ship as entire star systems simply disappeared, their lights snuffed out as if they had never existed. The entity was larger than planets, larger than stars, a cosmic force that treated galaxies like feeding grounds. "Final transmission from New Incheon Colony," Su Jin Nam reported, her voice shaking. "Guardian Prime Yun-sik. O says their star is failing. He is requesting permission to attempt network connection." Jin-ho gripped his command chair. New Incheon was home to 60 million people. "Tell him permission granted. All remaining Guardians are authorized for network protocol." Dr. Sang-wook. Lim monitored the long-range sensors as the void hunger consumed the New Incheon system. "Captain, the entity is not just draining energy anymore. It is learning our Guardian techniques. Each system it consumes makes it stronger and smarter." 3 systems away on New Seoul, Guardian Hyunwoo Kim felt the death of New Incheon like a physical blow to his chest. Through the quantum network that connected all Guardians, he experienced Guardian Prime Yeon-sik O's final moments as the darkness consumed him. "They are all gone," he reported to Mi-young Jang, tears streaming down his face. 60 million people just gone. Mi-young worked frantically at her control station, trying to strengthen the network connections between the remaining Guardian stations. "How much time do we have before it reaches us?" 2 days, maybe less. The thing moves faster after each system it consumes. On Earth, Admiral Dong Jun-cho convened an emergency meeting of the Guardian Command Council. Dr. Young Hee-song presented her final analysis, and the news was devastating. "The void hunger has consumed 7 star systems in the past week," she reported. "Each time it absorbs not just the stellar energy, but the knowledge and experience of our Guardian Core. It is learning our techniques and developing countermeasures." "What are our options?" Admiral Cho asked. "We have 2 choices. We can evacuate the remaining colonies and retreat to the galactic core, hoping the entity will lose interest. Or we can attempt full network activation now, before we lose any more. Guardians. What are the risks of network activation?" Young-hee hesitated. "If it fails, every remaining Guardian dies simultaneously. We would lose our only defense against the entity. And if we do nothing, the void hunger will consume human space system by system until nothing remains." On Research Station Alpha, Commander Taemin Park was no longer entirely human. His consciousness existed simultaneously in his physical body and in the quantum field surrounding Kepler 442. He could feel every other Guardian in human space, their fear and determination burning like candles in the cosmic darkness. "Sister," he said to Hye-jin during what they both knew might be their final conversation. The network activation will change everything. Not just for the Guardians, but for all of humanity. Will you survive it? I do not know. What I am becoming. It might not be compatible with human existence, but someone has to anchor the network, and I have the deepest stellar connection. Hye-jin ran one final medical scan on her brother. His neural patterns no longer registered as fully human. The quantum entanglement with your star has reached 97% integration. You are more stellar phenomenon than biological entity now. But I still remember being human. I still care about humanity. That has to be enough. Across human space, Guardian stations prepared for network activation. On New Seoul, Mi Youngjang made final adjustments to the amplification systems while her father Kyung-ho coordinated evacuation efforts for non-essential personnel. If this fails, the radiation pulse could sterilize the entire system, Mi Young warned. And if we do nothing, the void hunger will do the same thing in 2 days, Kyung-ho replied. At least this way we go down fighting. Guardian Hyunwoo Kim entered the primary interface chamber, knowing he might never emerge. The neural connection required for network activation would push human consciousness far beyond its normal limits. Tell my wife I love her, he said to Mi Young, and if we fail, make sure she knows we tried everything. On Mars, the Guardian training facility had been converted into a network coordination center. Dr. Young Hee-song monitored readings from 17 star systems, watching as Guardian Corps prepared to link their consciousness across impossible distances. All stations report ready, she announced to Admiral Cho. Network activation in T-minus 60 seconds. Captain Jin-ho Kim positioned his ship at the edge of human space, ready to witness humanity's greatest gamble. If the network succeeded, they might repel an entity that had destroyed countless civilizations. If it failed, he would carry the news of humanity's end to whatever survivors remained. 30 seconds to activation, Dr. Young Hee-song announced, across all Guardian stations. On New Seoul, Guardian Hyunwoo Kim felt his consciousness begin to expand as the network came online. His awareness stretched across interstellar distances, touching the minds of every other Guardian in human space. I can feel them all, he reported, his voice echoing with harmonics that hurt human ears. 237 Guardians across 17 systems. We are becoming one mind. Commander Taemin Park served as the primary network node, his consciousness anchoring the connection that spanned light years. The pain was indescribable as his mind stretched to accommodate the thoughts and experiences of hundreds of other Guardians. Network stability at 80% and climbing, Dr. Young Hee-song reported. Neural integration proceeding normally. But normal was a relative term. Across human space, Guardians were undergoing a transformation that transcended biology. Their individual consciousness merged into a collective entity that existed in both physical space and the quantum field surrounding stars. I can see everything, Taemin reported, his voice now carrying the combined resonance of all connected Guardians. Every star in human space burns with our will. We are no longer separate beings. We are one flame burning in 17 different fires. The void hunger, approaching the New Seoul system, encountered something it had never faced before. Instead of individual Guardians protecting individual stars, it met a unified consciousness that spanned multiple star systems. For the first time in cosmic history, the ancient entity paused. It has stopped moving, Dr. Sang-wook Lim reported from Captain Jin-ho Kim's ship. The void hunger is hesitating. Through the network, the collective Guardian consciousness reached out to touch the entity's mind. What they found there was not malevolence, but hunger so ancient and vast that it had become a force of nature itself. We understand you. The network spoke with Taemin's voice but carrying the will of all Guardians. You consume because that is what you were made to do, but we will not let you consume us. The void hunger responded by unleashing the full force of its cosmic appetite. Dark tendrils reached out to drain the stars of human space, but they encountered something unprecedented. Stellar fire channeled through mortal determination. All stars reporting stable, Mi Young Jang announced from New Seoul. The network is holding. But the effort was taking a terrible toll on the Guardians. Across human space, their human bodies began to fail as their consciousness burned with stellar intensity. Neural cohesion dropping to 60%, Dr. Hai-Jin Park reported from Research Station Alpha. We are losing Guardians. The void hunger pressed harder, drawing upon the energy it had absorbed from destroyed civilizations. But humanity's network did something no previous species had managed. Instead of just resisting the drain, they began pushing back. We are not just defending our stars, the network announced. We are feeding our will back into the cosmic web. The entity cannot process determination. It cannot digest hope. For 3 days, the battle raged across dimensions that human science barely understood. The network of Guardian consciousness held 17 star systems stable, while simultaneously challenging a cosmic force that had existed since the universe was young. Guardian Hyun-woo Kim's body died on the second day, but his consciousness remained integrated with the network. Death is just another transformation, the collective entity that had once been individual Guardians explained to the terrified human observers. We are becoming something beyond human, beyond mortal. We are becoming the bridge between flesh and cosmos, between temporary life and eternal fire. Commander Taemin Park's physical form began to dissolve into pure energy on the third day, but his will remained the anchor point for the entire network. Through him, humanity touched the white, fundamental forces of creation itself, the void. Hunger, facing resistance it could not understand or overcome, began to retreat. For the first time in cosmic history, the ancient entity had encountered something that burned brighter when threatened, something that became stronger under pressure. The battle was won, but the cost was beyond anything humanity had imagined. The Guardian Corps had saved their species, but in doing so, they had transcended humanity itself. The silence that followed the void hunger's retreat was unlike anything humanity had ever experienced. For the first time in months, no emergency alarms wailed across human space. The 17 stars that had flickered and dimmed now burned with a steady, brilliant light that seemed somehow more alive than before. Dr. Hee-Jin Park stood in the observation deck of Research Station Alpha, watching Kepler 442 burn with golden fire. The star looked the same as always, but she knew her brother Tai-min was in there somewhere. His consciousness merged with stellar plasma in ways that human science could barely comprehend. "Can you hear me?" she whispered into her communicator, using the quantum frequency that connected to the Guardian network. "We hear you, sister," came the reply, but it was not just Taemin's voice anymore. It carried harmonics of hundreds of other Guardians, all of them speaking as one entity that spanned star systems. "We are still here, but we are also more than here. We exist in the space between atoms in the quantum foam that underlies reality itself." On New Seoul, Mi Young Jang worked to understand what the Guardian network had become. Her monitoring equipment showed impossible readings, consciousness patterns that existed simultaneously in multiple star systems, neural activity that registered at the quantum level across light years of space. "Guardian Hyun-woo," she called, into the network interface. "Are you still you?" "I am myself, and I am also all of us," came the reply in a voice that resonated like stellar wind. "Individual identity still exists within the collective, but we share thoughts and experiences now. I can feel the warmth of 17 different suns, know the dreams of 237 different minds. The physical bodies of most Guardians had died during the network activation, but their consciousness lived on in the quantum field that connected their stars. They had become something unprecedented in galactic history, a collective entity that bridged the gap between biological life and cosmic forces. Captain Jin Ho Kim's ship detected the first signs of change 3 weeks after the void hunger's retreat. Long-range sensors showed massive gravitational anomalies throughout human space, but these were not the destructive distortions caused by the cosmic entity. "It looks like the stars themselves are moving," Dr. Sang-wook Lim reported in amazement. "Not their orbital positions, but their fundamental properties are shifting. The Guardian network was not just maintaining stellar stability. It was actively improving it, optimizing each star's energy output and magnetic field configuration. Human space was becoming a zone of perfect stellar conditions, a cosmic garden tended by consciousnesses that existed in both flesh and fire. On Earth, Admiral Dongjun Cho received reports that defied understanding. The agricultural yields on all colony worlds have increased by 30%, his aide reported. The optimized stellar output is creating better growing conditions than we have ever recorded. Dr. Young Hee Song had spent weeks analyzing the quantum signatures of the Guardian network. Her conclusions were both wonderful and terrifying. They have become something beyond our current understanding of consciousness, she told the Admiral. Individual human minds linked together and then integrated with stellar plasma. They are still recognizably human in their values and goals, but their capabilities are essentially unlimited. The first contact with returning galactic civilizations came 6 months later. Species that had hidden in deep space since the luminaries' fall emerged cautiously, drawn by the unprecedented stellar stability in human space. The Keth delegation arrived first, their crystalline ships approaching Earth with careful respect. Ambassador Velketh spoke for his people in words that human translators struggled to render. "We have watched your species for centuries," he said during the first interspecies contact since the crisis began. "You were young and dependent on the luminaries' protection. We expected you to flee or die when the void hunger returned. Instead, you became something that even we do not understand." Admiral Cho represented humanity in these first negotiations, but he knew the real authority lay with the Guardian network. "We did what we had to do to survive," he replied simply. "You did what no species has ever done," Velketh corrected. "You faced the void hunger and not only survived but made it retreat. How?" The answer came from the network itself, speaking through communication arrays across human space. "We burned brighter when threatened. We became stronger under pressure. This is what humans do." Dr. Hyjin Park had maintained her research into the Guardian network, documenting the transformation of her brother and his fellow Guardians. Her findings revealed the true scope of what humanity had achieved. "They exist simultaneously as individuals and as a collective," she wrote in her reports. "Taemin is still my brother, still recognizably himself when we communicate. But he also carries the memories and experiences of every other Guardian. They have become a new form of consciousness, one that bridges biological and cosmic scales." The practical effects of the Guardian network became apparent as more galactic civilizations returned to find humanity, tending not just their own stars but offering to help stabilize stellar systems throughout the local galactic region. "Your people have become gardeners of space itself," observed Ambassador Zurhan of the Methi Confederation. "We see stellar systems that have been optimized beyond anything our science achieved. Stars burning more efficiently, planets with perfect climate control, asteroid belts converted into resource networks. It is remarkable." On New Sol, Mi Young-jang had been promoted to Director of Guardian Interface Technology. She worked with the network to design new systems that allowed normal humans to communicate with their transformed protectors. "Do you miss being fully human?" she asked the collective consciousness that had once been Guardian Hyunwoo Kim. "We miss the simplicity of it," came the reply. "Being limited to one body, one perspective, one lifetime, but we do not regret the transformation. Through us, humanity touches the fundamental forces of creation. We have become the bridge between what you were and what you might become." The revelation that humanity had not just survived the void hunger but actively repelled it sent shockwaves throughout the returning galactic community. Species that had existed for millions of years sought audience with the young race that had achieved the impossible. "How do we know you will not become like the entity you defeated?" asked Elder Theskov of the ancient serpent worlds. "Power on this scale has corrupted every previous civilization." The Guardian Network's response was immediate and clear. "Because we remember being human. We remember fear and love and hope and loss. We carry within us the experiences of mortality, the knowledge of what it means to be small and fragile and determined to survive anyway. This is what makes us different from pure energy beings like the Luminari or cosmic forces like the Void Hunger. Commander Taemin Park, speaking as the primary voice of the network, addressed the assembled galactic representatives. We do not seek to rule or control. We seek to tend and protect. Every star we touch burns brighter not for our glory, but so that life can flourish around it. The proof of humanity's intentions became clear over the following years. The Guardian network expanded beyond human space, offering their services to any civilization that requested help with stellar instability. They asked for nothing in return except the opportunity to learn and grow. Your brother has become something magnificent, Dr. Hyejin Park told her research assistants as they documented the network's activities. He maintains stellar systems for a dozen different species now, but he still asks about my health and remembers our childhood on Earth. The individual personalities within the network remained distinct, even as they shared a collective consciousness. Guardian Hyun-woo Kim continued to show particular care for New Seoul, ensuring that the colony's red dwarf burned with perfect stability. His widow received regular communications from him, messages that carried both cosmic wisdom and deeply personal love. "I am still your husband," he told her during one of their quantum conversations. "I still remember our first date, still laugh at your terrible jokes. Death could not separate us, and transformation has only made our bond stronger." Mi Young-jang developed new interface technologies that allowed ordinary humans to work alongside the Guardian network. These systems became humanity's greatest export, helping other species establish their own stellar management programs. "We are not trying to create more Guardians," she explained to the Galactic Council. "What our people became was unique to the crisis we faced. But we can teach others to work with their stars in smaller ways, to create the stable conditions that support life." Captain Jinho Kim, now Admiral of the Deep Space Fleet, led expeditions to the galactic edge where the Void Hunger had retreated. What they found there changed everything. "The entity is not gone," he reported to Earth Command. "It exists at the boundary between our galaxy and the void beyond. But it is different now, changed by its encounter with humanity." Dr. Sang-wook Lim's analysis of the Void Hunger's current state was startling. The entity appears to be learning from what happened. It is not trying to consume anymore. Instead, it seems to be creating. The Void Hunger had indeed been transformed by its contact with human determination, unable to digest the chaotic, hopeful nature of human consciousness.